Hello and welcome to the Next 100 Days podcast. My name is Graham Arrowsmith.
And my name's Kevin Appleby. So, Graham, a question that regularly comes up is the one-person business. And is it or is it not a good idea? Now, we've always said not a good idea because the value of the business can't just be yourself because that's unsellable. But in these days of AI, you can do so much more. So it's a question we ought to explore again.
Yeah, I think I think that's a good question, but I think there's a wider one as well, which is basically if you've got a small team, and you basically find all the decisions coming back to you, and for some reason your business isn't really growing, or at least your time isn't, you're wasting your time, etc. There must be ways in which we can work better. So we found, well, we had to dig around for this person, but I mean, she's been hiding from us for a while, but she knows a few of our former guests. And today we've got Nicola Anderson. Nicola, welcome to the Next 100 Days podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here.
I know it's lovely to be here because we're a fantastic podcast. We've been going for so long. I think we're the longest running weekly business podcast in the country.
Wow.
And there's probably somebody from the BBC doing the research right now and saying, no, you're not, but we are. So anyway,
There we are.
yeah, well, I think we are. Nicola, you run like a consultancy, a business growth consultancy, and the question that sort of Kevin mentioned, which was this idea of being a solopreneur, and needing to do more, and actually needing to create the business value, and then maybe one with a smaller team, but everything kind of all roads lead back to you to make a decision. Those are two probably slightly separate issues, but you'll probably face them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing is that, we start off with a business idea or two or three, maybe one of them takes off and you start to grow a business and it grows around you, whether you mean it to or not. You are the center of the business and the business grows around you. And I think that's what naturally happens, unless you're acquiring a business or you're already in a fully formed business when you start. If you start something from scratch, it's you, business grows around you. So therefore the business becomes dependent on you. And I often think of it as as the business owner, as the founder, there's us sitting here in the middle and there's all these wires coming into us, which are all the decisions and all the different parts of the business running to you or through you, and you are the hub of the business that you're creating. Now, you might be a solopreneur, as you say, in which case, absolutely, everything is coming through you. Or you might have a small team, perhaps, and still, more people, more decisions, more responsibilities, and more wires coming in and out of you that need your input, your decisions. And that's fine to a while. And I find that with businesses, as you approach in the maybe 1 million turnover, 5 million turnover, even, that's sustainable and kind of has to be sustainable to a point, really, because we don't have infinite funds potentially. But once you get to that sort of size where you are turning over you're in the low millions and your turnover is significant, you get to that point where you're all consumed by your business. You have no time to think, no headspace. You're involved in everything. And what tends to happen in my experience is you stop growing. The growth stalls. And the growth stalls because you've not got that space to be that entrepreneur, that headspace. You've not got that capacity to think, the capacity to look forward, the capacity to even look externally if you're now at the point where you want to think about acquisitions, for instance. So at that point, you are, as I say, you're at capacity. And if and that's fine if you're happy there, if that's where you wanted to get to, you're happy, your life is what you want it to be, great. But for most people it isn't. They've probably lost that life balance as well.
Being at capacity, having all these other things you want to do outside of the business sitting there.
Yeah, and it becomes a challenge, right? Trying to balance all of those things. And I think that we all create a business for a reason. And quite often it's because you want a different lifestyle to the one that perhaps you had in the corporate world. You want to be, you want more flexibility. You want to be able to make your own decisions. You want to be able to create a life that you enjoy, that works for you, your family, your loved ones. and that business gives you the flexibility and the freedom to do that. But you kind of lose that along the way of growing and becoming more and more successful. So
Yeah.
your capacity is at its limits within the business and externally as well. Then
I've got a bugbear actually, Nicola, with
oh,
just
go
about
for it.
every time management, project management system that exists. They all seem to work on the basis of, oh, let's plan out some objectives.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's create 100,000 tasks to execute in order to do this. Then we get the calendar application that says, oh, I'm going to time block into your diary to get these tasks done. And it seems that all of these systems are entirely designed to take up every possible hour they can find in order to fill up your working day.
Absolutely. And I think, and even if you're smart enough to put time in your diary and block it out for strategic thinking, CEO time, whatever you want to call it, I bet that's the time that goes first from your calendar. That's the first bit of time that you lose, that you set the intention at the beginning of the day, the beginning of the week, and it'll be the bit that goes first because somebody in your team or a client or a supplier needs you. And that's the thing that you drop, right? And so I think that there's a massive thing that needs to happen for you to continue that growth. And really, it all comes down to looking at what is running through you, those wires again. Yeah, what is coming to you? What's running through you? And what really should be running through you, if you want to continue to grow. And I have a framework I take people through, which tries to help them put a lens on that, holds a mirror up to that, to see what is it that I am doing day to day. And what is it I should be doing day to day? And that framework is called DASH, and it starts with delegation but with delegation comes trust, or the need for trust. So we all have things that coming through us that we should delegate. We know we should delegate, but we don't. And so there's a piece of work to do there, which is quite fundamental to being able to let go of some of your business. And that's having people around you that you can trust to delegate to. And trust is a huge thing, obviously. And I think, we hear all this talk at the moment about, trust recession in a world where AI can be and it can recreate you and all sorts. And don't get me wrong, I love AI. We've all become very skeptical about who we can trust, what we can trust. And I think so when we're looking at what, as a founder, as a business owner, you have coming in through your inbox or coming to you every day, we have to start with delegate. What can you delegate? Before we even think about where is it being delegated to, but what could we delegate? And I think there's something really important in that, because as business owners and founders, it's really important you enjoy what you do. So when you look at it on paper, you might think, well, I shouldn't be, at my level, I shouldn't be doing that. But actually, if that's the one piece of the puzzle, the one bit of the job that you enjoy the most, it's your business. If you want to do that, you do that. But delegate something else to give yourself the capacity to do that, if that makes sense.
There's also the thing that says it'll all be okay when.
Yeah. But when never comes, does it?
And when never comes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you really want to make a change, you have to draw a line in the sand. You have to push pause and stop and look at what you're dealing with. And so you need to look at what you could delegate. And like I said, that's not a quick thing. You need to think properly about what you actually want to be involved in, what you should be involved in, what you like doing, what you don't like doing. And then you need to figure out, of those tasks that could be delegated, what of those are repeatable tasks? What are things that could be automated? And that could be installing a CRM system, or it could be creating your own AI agents or utilizing AI tools that are out there. But I will bet you're at a point now where there are things, if you just gave a little bit of time, you could put automations in place to take some of that workload off your plate. And then there's always things you don't need to do anymore that you could stop doing. And I think, we do them because it feels safe to do them that way, because we've always done that, because we want to track this, that, and the other. But, how many have got spreadsheets that we're updating where we think, if we actually stopped and looked at it and thought, do I really need to be doing this anymore? Actually, I can get that from this system. Or if I combine these two spreadsheets, that's only one to update. There'll be something, at least something, one or two things that you could stop doing, right?
A start point for me, say the client came along to me and said, oh, my month end at the moment takes 7 days, Kevin. I need to get it down to Well, let's look at everything you're doing. And you'd
Mm.
start plotting it out on a whiteboard or a big sheet of brown paper, and then you'd ask them, and why are you doing that? And the answer is,
Mm.
because we've always done that.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
because whoever did the job before me told me I had to do it. And then you start thinking, well, actually, what value does it add? Does it have to happen? Who reads the output from it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. What do you do with that report that you've just produced? Where does it go?
yeah,
Do you look at it again?
yeah,
So there will be stuff that you could that you're doing that perhaps you don't really need to do, or you don't need to do it to the nth degree that you're currently doing it. Um, and when you've gone through that process, and this isn't a short process, obviously, when you've figured out what could be delegated, when you've automated what can be automated, when you've stopped doing the things that aren't necessary anymore or aren't needed anymore, then you can think about hiring. And by hiring, I don't necessarily mean bringing somebody full time into the business. It could be outsourcing. But I think what happens and what I see a lot is with a lot of business owners is, we're busy, we're rushing, we've got too much on our plate. What's the immediate fix that you think you need? Is I need somebody to help me. I need to hire somebody. So quite often we start with, I need to hire somebody. And actually, I don't think that is the first question that you should be asking. It should be, what can I do with the work that's coming through me to create more capacity before I hire somebody? Because when you're, especially when you're in that kind of, it's quite a vulnerable stage when you're in that kind of the 1 to 5 million mark, isn't it? You can make a couple of mistakes, or and we all make them, of course we do. That's how we learn, right? But you can very quickly erode your bottom line, your margin, by making a couple of wrong decisions, hiring a couple of people at quite a high salary range, maybe thinking maybe I'm ready, I need a COO. You bring somebody in with a high salary, it has an impact. They're not necessarily revenue generating. And before you know it, your margins aren't where they used to be. And actually, if you'd taken the time to actually stop and look at your business, perhaps if you'd have worked through that process and worked out what could be delegated, automated, or stopped, what you actually needed is perhaps a fractional COO, perhaps a couple of days a week, or a really good business manager, or a really good office manager even. You might still need the CEO, but until you go through that process, you won't know. And you can make the mistake of hiring too quickly at too high a level, and that will have a negative impact to your business. Plus, if we hire quickly to solve a problem that we have now, where I need some help, I need somebody, they come in, they fix that thing, whatever the thing is that's causing you the pressure, that thing gets sorted, and then they're coming to you saying, what would you like me to look at next? What shall I do now? And all of a sudden you've got another wire coming to you, more decisions to make, more responsibility, somebody else tugging at you. If you haven't sat down and you haven't got a strategy in place that you're bringing this person in to help you deliver. So there's a lot to think about. And when you're stuck in the middle of it all and you haven't got any thinking time, that can feel quite a lot. And the pressure can feel quite immense, and it can feel quite lonely too, right? You do need somebody that you can, reach out to, lean on, maybe even AI. Maybe you've got your Claude trained up and you can have a good old chat with your Claude about it late at night about how am I going to solve this problem. But it is about, I think, taking that time to pause and think, I need to prioritize a bit of CEO time here. I actually need to stop and think about what it is I'm doing. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. Yeah, that's what I think.
Well, that's a really short answer to a very long question that Kevin must have asked. Seriously, the one thing that I know about you is you've been in business for roughly about 20, or you've been doing this more or less for 25 years, which it's almost impossible to believe that. But having said that, you're dealing with some pretty special businesses, some of which we know,
Mhm.
and you wouldn't think that certain people that we know who you deal with would have this issue. So, when you were first engaged, what was it that they were thinking about? I mean, maybe this dash thing, maybe that's what they kind of figured out part of that. But why did they turn up at your door?
So there's normally a couple of reasons. They either want to grow, they've got the business to a certain point and they want to continue to grow. They've maybe got an exit event in mind. Yeah. And to be honest, it probably all leads back to an exit event, but there's different types of exit events, right? Isn't there? So, they want to continue growing. There's a number they're trying to get to, and then they want to sell the business. They know that the business isn't saleable if it's dependent on them, because that's not a saleable business. You're not selling yourself, you're selling the business. So the business has to be able to function without you in it. So there's that. Or you've got people who have reached a certain stage in life. They absolutely don't want to talk about the retirement word. That's not a word that's in their vocabulary. They're not looking to retire, but they want to perhaps extract themselves a little bit from the business. They want to maybe reduce the number of days in the business. They want to maybe go and do some other things. They want to be able to move into more of a chairperson type role. They want to go and invest in other businesses, maybe. They maybe want to go and support other people. They want to spend more time with their family. They want to travel more. And to do that, they need to be able to have a business that functions, again, without them in it all of the time.
So they might be thinking about, probably are thinking about an exit up to a point. But they might want more time from themselves to be able to dedicate to other things other than the work. Now, I can... On both of those counts, I can understand needing some sort of advice. So if I've got mentally to that stage, what do you do to get? I mean, do you start with Dash?
I do.
Right. So basically, you would start with Dash, and then it's almost like let's fill in the blanks here. So we have an idea of where you're going. So if that's the case, then basically, once you've kind of got this patchwork of understanding, this Dash understanding, and I mean it's a patchwork because they're different things really in a way. But basically, once you've got that, is the strategy always obvious?
So I think what comes out of working through the Dash framework is an action plan. So there becomes really clear indicators of key things that have to happen to move out of that middle of that day-to-day. Now, as a business up to 5 million, if we're talking about that sort of size business, there will always be a requirement for you to be part of the day-to-day to a degree, or somebody in that space. And so what comes out of it is a clear action plan. And then it could be that, okay, yeah, you're right. I've had it before. We need a CRM system, and we need that CRM system because, yes, we want to track our metrics. Yes, we want to be able to see how we're performing, but also because the founder, the business owner, wants visibility. Because if we come back to the beginning where we talked about trust, visibility gives you trust. I've got one client who bought a camper van, wants to travel more, doesn't want to be stuck in his business 5 days a week anymore. Loves his business, but just wants to be able to go out and travel and see more of the world. So when he's out traveling around Europe in his camper van, he wants security of seeing the statistics, the data in his business to give him comfort that all is well. And that means that he can carry on his journey and off he goes to another country. If he hasn't got that, then he's always worrying. He's always concerned. He hasn't got comfort that all is well. And so, it could be something as simple as I say, as putting in the CRM system so they've got data and visibility.
So he's just about to cross into Italy and the numbers have gone down. So what does he do? Just turn the camper van round and head back home?
Well, I think that depends. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully by that point, he's got a structure within the business of people that he trusts. So he's in communication with somebody, his right-hand person that, he can speak to and understand why the numbers perhaps aren't where they should be. And I think that comes out of the process as well. It's, who do you trust in your team? Have you got the visibility of what's happening in your business when you're not there? Is everybody on the same page? Is everybody pulling in the same direction? Do we all know where we're trying to get to? Do we all know what the strategy is here? And I'm not, I've got mixed feelings on SMART goals. Do we all know the direction we're heading in? That's key, really, because if you're not sharing that with your team, then they might have their own agendas or what they think is what we're supposed to be doing. If you don't share what's in your head and where you want to get to, we're all going off in different directions, thinking we're doing the right thing, and we're not creating opportunities for growth.
That is a very good point. Clarity of sort of where you want to get to. I've got a 3-ish year goal,
Okay.
shall we say, exit plan.
Hmm.
And I have roughly 3 business lines, and one at the moment is producing most of the money. One's probably going to produce a lot more money very quickly, and then the other one might produce a lot of money. So basically, these lines are, and I'm thinking over that 3-year period, how do I allocate myself while still having fun? I don't want to work myself into an early grave, and that's one of the things that Dr. Anton, a previous guest on here, said. Well, if you don't think about retiring, holy Graham, because you'll be, you won't need a Christmas tree, because it'd be a waste of money. But the whole purpose is, if when you retire, often you somehow you don't have that purpose, but when you
Yeah.
like in the thick of things and you're doing things, you definitely have that purpose, and so it's almost like, I don't know, it must do something to you
Yeah.
inside.
To me, Graham, there's something about getting rid of the stress of having all of these moving parts flying around you, but still having the involvement to the extent that it keeps your brain busy, you're communicating with people, you're doing all of the things that Dr. Anton would tell you that you shouldn't lose because, and the reason that you shouldn't retire.
Well, it's probably something you've talked about, Nicola, but basically, isn't it? It's almost like the elevation to the kind of work that you're really on this earth for, in your context, in your work.
Hmm.
And if I was to do some of the really easy stuff, we've talked about this in the past, Kevin, that the minimum wage stuff versus the, I don't know, £10,000 an hour stuff. That's basically, if you can do more of the sort of things that are going to move the dial a little bit and do something about the other things, and that might be AI, it might be other systems, or even people. But is that kind of the solution, Nicola?
I think so. I think we all need a purpose, don't we? As humans, we need a purpose. We need something to get us out of bed in the morning, and to
Yeah.
drive us, and to excite us, and to it's something we enjoy, but and challenge us, because we, as humans, we get bored really easily too, don't we?
Yeah.
So I think that that's really important, and I think that what I find is that with founders, that particularly entrepreneurs, business owners, that they don't no, they don't want to retire. They just want a different type of life,
Yeah.
from their business that they've worked so hard to grow. They just want it to give them a different type of life. And I think that, you're right. So I think it's about keeping your mind sharp as well, isn't it? It's like AI.
Yeah.
We're all constantly learning at the moment, right? Because there's so much there to learn, and I think it's going to continue to do so for some time to come. But with AI, if you become all consumed with AI and you only have AI in your business and no humans, then you start to miss something, that human connection, that reality of dealing with humans. And I think the best businesses of the future will be what I like. The team of the future will be the ones that will be successful, will be the ones that have AI, have humans, and they integrate them well.
We, I work with a guy, we providing AI solutions, and this guy told us a story a couple of weeks ago, and he said that we were asked to do an analysis of this particular person who was offered this range of AI services to a rather large company, and so they did this analysis of this person and his company, and they one of the things that they uncovered was just how many people were working there. One.
Oh,
One,
wow.
one person was working there. And then when you start to think about the potential liability of, just the work that he was providing for this large company, and I seem to remember the name, but I'm not going to mention it. But the point is, it was an incredibly risky outcome. And to your point, Nicola, the winner is, or the winners, I think, are going to be those people who have both, good people. I
Yeah.
mean, real people who can talk to people, and also
Mm.
great AI solutions. So that kind of rules Kevin out, because he's just an AI anyway. It's just an avatar you're seeing in front of him. But no, seriously
I'm
though,
not that good at AI yet.
pardon?
I'm not that good at AI yet. I've
Well,
tried.
I mean, there's some of the things that we're involved. Sorry, but the point I was getting at was that there's an incredible risk thing that you can go. I mean, just that piece of work. I saw the work, and it was like, gee, you couldn't possibly want to deal with this guy, even though on the face of it, he had a lot of solutions and so forth. But he was knocked down by a bus tomorrow.
Yeah.
Your business has got a massive risk. So, of course, what they did, they paid for this research, and they obviously didn't go ahead with the other guy. And it wasn't like trying to nail a competitor, because he wasn't a competitor. But the whole idea was AI. It was like he'd optimized every possible AI thing in his purview, and the company had obviously thought, "Oh, isn't this great? But can you just check for me?"
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's going to come up more and more. I mean, it might be the first time you've heard that kind of story, but it's going to come up because there's going to be a lot of solo entrepreneurs who are going to come up with all these solutions. And how much are you putting your business at risk
Yeah.
on the back of those solutions that you're buying?
Absolutely. I think you're so right. And I think that, and it's the old adage, isn't it, that people buy from people. And it is true. We all, we're embracing AI, but there, when you're spending a significant amount of money, whether that be personal, business,
Yeah.
you want to buy from somebody like, and trust. And
Yeah.
so you want that human connection. You're happy for them to be supported by AI, and that might bring the cost of what you're procuring down, even make it more accessible. But as humans, we want that connection. We need that connection. Is what makes us human. So I think it's all about balance now, and I think it's all about building a business that embraces the new technology but doesn't forget the humanness of it all, if that's such a word. But yeah.
I completely agree. And so basically then you've got this Dash system. Is that what you get up every day and you talk about Dash all day long? Or do you move into other areas?
Oh yeah, no, moving to other areas. It's a really great starting point. So if I've got somebody that comes to me and that, they know that they need support, the business isn't quite as they want it to be. They're either feeling overwhelmed with everything that's coming through them, or they just feel stagnant, that they can't grow. The growth has stalled, perhaps, or what I do sometimes see as well is actually the growth has started to decline. It's gone backwards. Because they got to a point, they had a bumpy year, but they didn't have all the systems and processes in place to enable that to continue to grow. And actually what's happened is while they were busy delivering the work, for instance, that they'd won, the eye was off the ball for winning more. And they kind of get to that point and then they start to slip back. So that can happen as well. And I think, so Dash is just a really good place to start with, to figure out what's actually going on in the business, what is happening, what's coming through you. And then we start to fix the problems. And, it could be that they need, like I said before, systems, as in, CRM systems. It could be people. It could be, they haven't got a clear strategy. It could be that they don't have a senior leadership team. They're at that point where they do need a senior leadership team if they want to keep growing. So there are all manner of things that are needed within a business to push them forward, to continue to grow or continue to get to their exit point. So
what do they type into chat or Claude to find you?
That's a really good question. I think that they generally type things like I'm always firefighting, I feel trapped, I'm not enjoying my business anymore, I need more capacity, how do I grow my business? So it's all those things that, when they've come up against this wall, that it was all going so well. They were growing year on year. Everything was great. And now it just feels tougher than it used to. The growth has stalled and the enjoyment has started to slip.
I was asking for a friend, Kevin, but no, I kind of, in a way, that's what they might put into a prompt because they don't know you, and then it goes away and it says, well, who on earth is going to be the antidote to this? So they then sort of find you, and that engagement starts. You go through the Dash, you have a look around, and you think, my hell, it's because we know how it works. If you did I don't know how your business works, but let's just say the Dash analysis is 50 quid, but then you find that all the other things amount to 5,000 quid. And is that the in other words, your entry, the 50 Dash is probably more than 50 quid, but the point is that you have an infinitely bigger opportunity once you're on the inside.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I do it, I start with an intensive, which is where for 30 days we'll go through everything. We look at Dash and we'll figure out what the action plan is, what actually needs to change, what needs to happen for
Right.
things to change, and then there's your action plan. You can either take it and run with it and you do it yourself,
Right.
and reach out if you need me, or if you want somebody to help you make these things happen, then that's where myself and my team come in. So that could be, so then we form a partnership, and then I will help with all the accountability, the strategizing, some of the implementation, and then I have a team of people that work with me where we can get really into the nitty gritty if you want us to,
And so
be that a
what do you,
CRM system, for instance, or yeah.
so what have you found your customers saying about you behind your back?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, I don't. I mean,
No,
I
me
think
ask the killer question. Well done.
I think what they say is that what I know they say is that is they love the positivity and the excuse me, get done that
Yeah.
happens when I'm
Yeah.
around, because it
Yeah.
makes them take action. It
Right.
makes them deal with what they know needs to be dealt with. It's somebody to be there listening, their trusted advisor that's kind of, helping them, supporting them, but gently pushing them along as well to help them achieve what they wanted to achieve. So, because otherwise it's really easy, isn't it, to slip back into the day to day and just do things the way you always did it. And it's lonely at the top as well, isn't it? It can be quite a lonely task when
Yeah.
you're leading a business, particularly if even without a team, it can be quite lonely. So just having somebody that's kind of like is on your side, that's got your
Yeah.
back, that's helping you,
Yeah.
that's what I know that they benefit from, and what they feel that it's like I'm not alone anymore.
I mean, I haven't checked, but I can tell from your accent that you're somewhere in the middle of the country. I could probably take a shot at where you're from, but let's just say it's broadly the West Midlands, but effectively, I might be wrong. But the thing is, do you operate largely within a short drive, or are you quite happy to take a client in Scotland or Yorkshire
Yeah,
even?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I'm based in Nottinghamshire,
Right.
not too far from Trent Bridge for those that like their cricket.
Right.
And but I have clients locally, and I have clients all over the UK, basically. Yeah,
Miles
I'm
off then. I mean, you're
yeah.
East Midlands, not West Midlands.
You're very
Yeah.
close. You were very
Uh,
close.
uh,
And
uh,
I'm South Notts as well. So it's
are
nearly
you?
the Midlands. So
Oh, I
yeah,
see.
you
Fair
nearly
enough.
had
Okay.
it.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, but I've got clients all over the UK. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so that doesn't, and it's not to say that I work wholly remotely. I don't, I'm off to Gloucester next week to see a client in Gloucester. Tomorrow I'm off to Peterborough.
Yeah.
I have,
Yeah.
I'll go wherever good clients are. I like working with good people, with good businesses where I really think that I can help make a difference.
Well, I mean, Kevin's up in the Northumberland, so it's going to be a long
Lovely.
drive for that. Not worth going though, I
Hey,
suppose.
Graham.
But no, seriously though, you probably have to have a fair budget to engage you. Is it reasonable to think that it's not going to your benefit to them is you're going to fix in a way their business, or at least you're going to give them a plan that's going to helpfully fix their business. But that's going to be for a certain amount of money. I mean,
Um,
do you want to sort of share the broad, uh, the broad cost of
yeah,
engagement?
sure. So to do my to do the intensive, the capacity intensive, where we work together for 30 days
Yeah.
to go through the Dash framework, and we define what the action plan is, and then we keep in communication through that month to start the ball rolling. So that process is £2,500.
Right.
But what I have a calculator which I can share with people, which shows you based on what's running through you how many days a month you could save by putting in place the action plan, and obviously that equates to numbers. So
Right.
what it costs to work with me for a month, you will make that back and some if you
Yeah.
apply just some of the actions that we identify. So
So,
it should be cost neutral to the business owner and start to make them money as they move forward.
I mean, that's really good. I mean, your reputation. Doing a little bit of research on you. I mean, people do like you, and I can understand why. It's almost like that smart. That not smart, but that smart but very um, grounded way in
Mhm.
which you're communicating, and that comes across in spades. but you're still quite young, and I would say that you've got, I don't know, so many years, maybe a couple of decades or so of a career. You might not want to spend all that time, but let's just say you did. What would you like to achieve in that time?
So, I mean, I'm in my 50s and I
Oh,
can't see
goodness.
myself ever
Well,
retiring, if
that
I'm
Botox is
honest.
working really well then. I mean, well done.
It's
But
all down to the lighting.
is it like okay then? All right. Well, you,
So,
you could do two. You could do 2 decades,
well,
couldn't you?
yeah, I'd love
Yeah,
to. And I think
yeah,
for me, I care about working with good people and helping them to, I think the ultimate outcome of everything I do is helping people to create the life they built the business for in the first place. Yeah. And I
yeah,
think that's really important. I think we can be all consumed with business and, why not? But at some point, you want to be able to kind of, enjoy the rewards of what you've created, right? So
yes,
I think for me, that keeps me going. It is, going in, solving problems, fixing problems. I'm a definite problem solver. I fix problems. I get stuck in, and then hopefully we get to the point where that person, when I walk away, is because that's it. That's what they were trying to create, and now they feel they've got more balance in their life. And my big daydream is that at some point I'll go and live in a gîte in France, drink lots of wine, eat lots of cheese, and help people a couple of days a week instead of 5 days a week. That would be a
yeah.
good result for my
Your,
business.
your skin will be buggered by Christmas. Honestly, don't do that. I mean, working with the bloody French, they all look like they're out 90-year-old. But no, no. Seriously though, you said earlier that you've got what's it called? You've got a team, and I
Yeah.
was thinking, well, at some stage you might not have had a team.
Mm.
So I was just thinking about your kind of first hire, not necessarily
Yeah.
the one that lasted, shall we say?
Yeah.
And what was it about that person that you knew was really going to help you?
Yeah. So my team are all freelancers. So I
Okay.
like to support other freelancers in as much as
Yeah.
I'm a freelancer.
Yeah.
But I have a fantastic business manager whose name is Pippa Whitfield. She's absolutely phenomenal. She's really helped me to grow my business.
Yeah.
And she has a team of really great people in her team that we use
Yeah.
to help us with the implementation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I did my research on who she is. She came recommended to me, and I think recommendations in business are so valuable, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because we are sort of putting a lot of trust in people, and so yeah, she's been an absolute game changer for me because there's only so much you can achieve alone,
Yeah.
and I think that's for us and for the businesses that I work with. So to have somebody as a sounding board to help you think bigger, help you dream bigger, even
Yeah.
it's a game changer. And when you find that right person that you really trust,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it really helps to gives you more confidence in what you're trying to achieve, and it
Yeah.
gives you more scope as a business to grow, and it makes it more enjoyable than when you do it all alone.
I couldn't agree more. I've my assistant Pfizer has been she's worked with me now for 2 years, and she's an expert in developing our AI solutions. She really has grasped it really well, and she's been back with her parents in India for about 6 weeks.
Wow.
And I mean, she has been working, of course, and we do Zoom and all that, but
Hmm.
it's completely different from when she's actually here,
Hmm.
and it's a different sort of feeling. But you just have to accept the fact that sometimes you're gonna have to work remotely. But
Yeah.
the impact that a young person, and obviously female, has on my perspective,
Mm.
it just balances in. It's almost like a yin to a yang. It's not quite like that, but it gives you a like a balanced view, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you're building a team, I think we can sometimes be guilty of just recruiting clones,
Yeah.
and I think whilst there's some scope for that, when you're building a really good team, you want complementary skills in that team.
Oh yeah.
If you just recruit somebody that's just like you, you're still missing the things in the business which perhaps aren't your forte. And I
So
think
I
it's
just
about getting a balance. And, I use a profiling tool to make sure that I do that when I'm working with clients to help them build teams. You
right.
want a full skill set to be able to grow a business.
I don't think we should put it to a vote to get another person like me. I think that would, I think I'd lose that one.
The world
But
definitely doesn't want another person like you, Graham.
that's true. I found my niche or niche, as I say, over in the over the bridge. Anyway, the thing is, you have this wonderful business. You're obviously you're still young. You've got another couple of decades to work through. You've got this G in mind. What's What's the most challenging thing that you think you face over the next? And our podcast is the next 100 days, but that's one perspective. But let's just say the next decade. What's the most challenging thing that you can think of?
I think that the most challenging thing for a lot of business owners is going to be AI. I know we already mentioned this quite a lot, but it is because it's not a known entity, is it? Yes, it's changing all the time, and I don't think any one of us can really claim to be AI experts because there's always a new tool to learn. I think what we need to do is just make sure that we are relevant, that we are aware of what it can do, partner with other people that perhaps are experts in certain parts of it, and try and embrace it as best we can, because it's not going anywhere. It's only going to be more. And I think for those people, and sadly there are people out there that are kind of very close to AI, don't trust it, and of all generations, I would say as well.
Yeah,
that are close to it, they don't trust it, they don't buy into it. Unfortunately, it's a bit like when the internet came around. It's not going to be an option to do business without it. You will get left behind. And so I think that is the biggest challenge facing everybody that at the moment, in the longer term. So I would say that really, technology and AI, yeah.
I agree with you. I mentioned I worked with a guy called Flint, and he back in the day when the internet came along, he decided his life's work was to work out why people say yes on websites. So he was all about figuring out why people say yes, and therefore it became all about conversion. And he's got 10,000 marketing experiments. They're all researched, etc., and that's built into our product. Now, the latest thing, and this is the thing that I can't possibly retire. The latest thing that we're thinking about is how do we make, and it's not even a dream, it's what we're working on, and we will have solutions within weeks, possibly a couple of weeks. How do we make dumb websites? And I think every single website that you've ever been to is literally dumb. As in, it's not sentient, it's not thinking, it's not got, shall we say, AI infused in it. We will infuse it into it. So basically, we'll have intelligent websites that enable, when you turn up on your site, I'm looking at your site right now, and your site's wonderful, by the way. You've got this very, very kind of like enigmatic picture of you on the front cover, and in a posh background. So that's probably your house or something like that. And the thing is,
I wish.
yeah, all right, fair enough. And but the point is, you go to your website, but I still don't quite get it, and I've got to try and search for what I want. But if I have a specific, and let's just say there's a little box there, or there's a little thing, just talk to me, and then basically I talk to, and then your website changes. It's not got your picture, an enigmatic picture anymore. It's got the answer from your resources right in front of them.
Yes.
And it gradually, well, not gradually, it pushes you to a conversion, which might be a meeting with you.
Yes.
Or it might be purchasing something of fairly, whatever, low value.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's our aim. And I just don't see other people doing this right now.
No.
And for me, I'm incredibly excited by the potential of it, because it means every single business can move there. Forgive me for saying it, but dumb, because it might be deterministic. It might click from this thing to that thing, but think about it from a human point of view. I have to go all the way around here to find out the answer to this. Yeah. And I'm still not sure it's the right answer. So basically, it's that ability to actually do that. And actually come up with a solution, but it physically changes the way in which it looks on the page.
Yes.
So we're extraordinarily excited for this.
Sounds very exciting. Yeah, I'm
Mm.
intrigued to go and find out more.
Well,
The
I'll
idea
make
of the
sure
product.
to tell you when we have
Thank
something to
you.
say. But
Yeah.
Kevin,
I love the idea of the product, and that comes back to the retire or not retire question that keeps coming up regularly in podcasts we record. Now, there's too
it's because
much
we're in our 60s,
going on
Kevin.
like this.
We
Now,
Surely not.
there's something that's kind of been brainwashed into us since we were 5-year-olds. You get to 65 and you stop, you retire. But having got there, there's so much going on, so much that's interesting. Now, just because ancient history has told you that's what you do.
Mm.
Oh, but then the challenge comes up, well, what about all these things you've been putting off until you retire?
Yeah, yeah,
That flips back into what we've been talking about today. How do you make space to do them?
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that, I mean, I don't know the numbers, but I'm quite sure there's never been so many entrepreneurs, is there?
No.
And so many business owners in the UK, small business owners, SMEs. And that affords you the opportunity to live a different life
Yeah,
where you don't
absolutely.
have to just, wait until you've finished your corporate career and you've been in the same job or for the same company for however many years and then retire. I think actually what it does, it gives you the opportunity to do more of what you enjoy sooner in life if your business model's right, and still have the funds to do that as well if your business is successful. And I think that's a much more healthy place to be than
Yeah.
just getting to that point where, okay, well, today I stop. Now, what's my purpose? Who am I now? And actually, I think that if we can get to the point where we have that balance, um, I think that's a healthier thing. That's a better place to be.
much, much to be.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
you're a fascinating young lady, Nicola, and I
Thank you.
think I think if somebody really wants help with these issues to do with, I don't know, making more capacity in your business so that you can do
Mm,
either other things or better things, whatever that
yeah.
is, like you said, investing in other businesses, whatever it's going to
Mm,
be,
mm.
then you have to beat a path to this sort of South Nottingham sort of based lady, and she will jump in her car and come to. I
I
mean,
will.
if she's prepared to drive all of 40 miles to Peterborough or maybe 50 miles to Gloucester, then she might come as far as Edinburgh
I
or
will.
even London, that big London.
Oh yes.
But
Get on the train then. That'll
yeah,
be an outing for the
yeah.
day.
Have you noticed that anybody living in London, it's a lot harder to get up north than it is from the north to get back down
Oh
to London? I
yeah.
don't know why that
Yeah,
is.
yeah, 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 yeah. I
It's not
know.
the
Yeah,
same
that was something
distance,
from a
obviously.
consulting career, Graham. If you're supposed to be doing something in London, there were all sorts of looks that say, "Why? It's after 9:30, Kevin. Why aren't you here?" Then you're on a project in Newcastle, and all the London folk turn up at 11 or 12 o'clock on a Monday morning. What's all that about?
I know it's so frustrating.
Uh,
But on that I don't know, bombshell, whatever. We're going to draw this to a close, Nicola. You've been an absolutely first-rate guest on the next 100 Days podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here. It's lovely talking to you both. Thank you.
Gosh, Graham, we covered a lot there. Yeah. Now, we've asked that question of so many different angles about retirement and not retirement. It came up yet again in that conversation, but even though that conversation is relevant to anybody who is an entrepreneur wanting to grow a business, wanting to create more space for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, retirement is an odd word, but I mean, it means something to us, don't you? Certainly in our 60s. But basically, but if you want to retire a part of your daily work almost and move other things into that space with purpose and all the rest of it, it's the same kind of word or at least intention. And so the things that Nicola has been discussing, I think I think it really stands out for people. So if you're either approaching retirement, which many of our listeners are, or you actually gone through retirement, or you are in a business where you need to get more space in your time and your day, who should you call?
Ghostbusters.
That as well. So yeah, all right. So it's been a fascinating conversation, and like Nicholas said, it's the first time she's been interviewed by two people, and it's just the way that we do it, I think, Kevin.
Oh, I think it is. I think it is. And the other part is we don't script. A lot of
Oh, we can't possibly script. How can you script this?
a lot of podcasters think, oh, the best thing you've got to do is totally research the guest, have a long list of pre-prepared questions. Does not work. You need to do a bit of research, know who you're talking to, but actually you want to do so little research that when the guest comes along, you're still curious.
Yes, absolutely. That, I couldn't have said it better. It exactly that. I think you have to do a modicum to show you have some intelligence in terms of the kinds of direction the conversation is going to go. But the beauty is that the conversation goes where it takes itself.
Exactly.
And I think that's a far more interesting listen than, right, next question, question 19 out of 20. Oh my goodness. I find that very, very frustrating. And if you listen to a podcast like that, well, stop and listen to the next 100 days.
But if they've
So,
heard, they're already listening to the next 100 days.
well, tell other people.
I tell
Recommend
you
this
what,
to other
Graham,
people.
that could be an ideal bit to cut as a short for YouTube so people might see it or put it on Facebook.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Right. So on that note, I've been Graham Arrowsmith.
I've been Kevin Appleby. Goodbye.
Goodbye.